It's a new look. It's a new era, but it's the same era for us here at the After Show. We're going to talk about everything that happened this week on NXT. Stick around.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, how's it going? We're here with the entire NXT team. Just kidding, it's 2/3 of the NXT team. It's myself, Bill Handstock. You can find me on Twitter at Sundown Hotel. Here with the one and only incomparable Hobo.
The true Hobo. The Iron Vagabond, the Boxcar Superstar, at True Hobo on the Twitter. I'm here today talking about wrestling because I'm not actually wrestling today.
For a change.
For a change.
If you see any fake hobos out there, you go punch them in the mush.
You tell them to come see me. They bow to the king. I am the Emperor of the North Pole.
Sadly, our one and only Mark B. Donica is not here this week.
Yes,
he will be
sadly.
back, not next week, but he'll be back at some point. I didn't hear that, so it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
No one
I'm
heard it.
trying to be professional, but I've had trouble. I've got a prepay phone, and it does not want to do what I want it to do lately. And I'm thinking about calling the company and complaining, but they won't take my calls. So there's that.
There's no company to call on a burner, Hobo.
No, there's not. Sadly.
Because they all use burner phones as well. All right, so this week, NXT, it's a new era. It's a new look. It's a new sound.
Amazing.
It's new everything.
I think this is, I don't want to say it's long overdue, but I think it's completely necessary.
It was the right time, certainly. They actually opened up with the new theme song, which you heard at the top of this show as well. They opened up with the new intro package, the new graphics.
Which we don't have. We don't have them. As you can see plainly behind me, we still have the just older graphics for all of you out there who really get on us about the quality of our graphics and the timeliness with which we put them up. They're not up right now. So all of you audio listeners, please watch us on YouTube and complain in the comments below about how our graphics are not up to date.
Well,
because we won't know unless you complain about it.
It is still the same NXT logo, so I think we're fine.
You think?
I think we're okay.
No.
I mean, I know that wrestling fans are hesitant to complain about things.
You know,
tell
they're
you that
very
they're
respectful.
having a bad time. So I'm sure
Japan really set the bar.
I'm sure we'll be just fine. Anyway, Tom Phillips even said at the beginning of the show, right after the intro, he said that NXT looks to the future. This is the new era of NXT. This entire episode made it very, very, I'm not going to say painfully, because nothing about this episode was painful.
Well,
they made it
some of the in-ring action certainly
We'll
was
get to
painful.
that. They made it very evident that this is the new era of NXT. We've seen new eras of NXT before, but this one just feels so refreshing, so right that
Dare I say it's a new day?
Oh, hey.
Yes, it is.
I know that you've never been sour,
Never.
just bitter.
No, yeah, definitely bitter.
So it feels great. It's long overdue, and given how we've talked before about how NXT has felt in the past several months, like it's sort of treading water, this just felt like an immediate just kickstart, new faces, the right kind of new faces, a new feel. Just great stuff all around, top to bottom.
Very, very. I don't know. It feels like there's something good that's just around the corner. Like that's how NXT felt when we first started watching it. Was something good is just about to happen. These are the stars of tomorrow, today, and it feels like that again, which is great.
And to that end, the first thing we saw was a new star. Aleister Black.
A Black Star.
That's right. He once again rose up from his crypt. We got to see him do his entrance in Full Sail. We saw his debut at NXT TakeOver in that big arena. We got to see the rising up, and it's cool that that's going to be a permanent part of his entrance.
It seems to be. So that's really something to look forward to.
He also got the treatment of the sort of Undertaker, Bray Wyatt sort of lower third, where he gets the runes superimposed over him that then transition to his name. Super cool, like great. And it's clear that this guy is different from your normal superstars. He looks different. He acts different. He feels different. By the way, his theme song is now on iTunes. It's on YouTube. Go check it out. It's by, I believe, Incendiary. And
I saw a tweet that Aleister Black said he had a part in some of the lyrics.
Wrote part of the lyrics, yeah.
Yeah.
So I listened to it. It's like a 5-minute long hardcore song, and it's awesome. It's just really great. Really good theme. Fits him extremely well. So
There's something about Aleister Black. I mean, I think it's completely necessary that we have men that are more than men. Aleister Black seems to have that feel. He brings with him an energy that a lot of other wrestlers don't. You know, a wrestler is a man, but Aleister Black seems to be powered by something more insidious.
Sinister.
Mr. Sinister.
Even the NXT Twitter account was talking about how unsettling it is that you see a wrestler that's that calm.
Yeah.
Which is, man, I just love. I mean, I've been a huge fan of his for a long time, and
I've said it before. Nobody as talented as Aleister Black, and he's in the place where he should be. And tonight he's working against a gentleman by the name of Corey Hollis.
That's correct. You didn't work against him for long.
He did not.
One kick,
hook kick, boy, that caught him right in the jaw. That was it.
Put the lights out.
I kind of feel bad for Hollis. I wish we could have seen more, but he was just not prepared for what Aleister Black brought to the table.
I believe that finish is called the Fade to Black, and it couldn't be more appropriately named.
Yeah.
It's more like a cut to black.
Hard cut. That's a hard cut. I think this is necessary for Aleister Black to establish his most dangerous weapon. Because in his debut match, nobody saw that as an ending. It came so abruptly, nobody was paying attention.
Right.
So now...
Also, no one was paying attention.
Right. So now we have to establish that this is his most dangerous weapon. And he can and will use it at any moment. So I think we have to watch him more closely when he wrestles, because his black finish could come out of nowhere.
Yeah, you never know, and I think that's what, I mean, that sort of thing is really what separates him from someone like Cassius Ohno, who this is supposed to be his sort of thing, where it's
right. He hits you with the elbow.
A knockout can come at any time from Cassius Ohno. That's his gimmick, but he has to do it a bunch of times.
Right,
it seems.
right. He has to hit you several thousand times in order for that last one. That last one just works. There it is.
So super effective, just awesome entrance.
It's
amazing.
Super effective.
Yes.
If he is a dark Pokemon, if ever I've seen one. Yeah.
Just great entrance, great energy, and then showing how devastating he is as just a force.
Yeah.
So,
and calm. He finished as calm as he started. He got the win. That was all he needed, and he left. And not paid by the hour.
I really hope that we see a lot more of that in the future, of sort of like, you can't shake him. You can't rattle this guy.
Well, we'll finally find somebody who does rattle him, and that will be a bad day.
That journey is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
So that was fantastic, an amazing way to start the new era of NXT. And then we went backstage to talk about the old era. We saw the clips of Ty Dillinger debuting on SmackDown Live. Couldn't happen to a better guy.
Literally couldn't.
He talked about how excited he was to be on SmackDown, but he does have some unfinished business here in NXT with Eric Young, who he is going to meet in a steel cage.
To me, that's a big deal. Yeah. Usually when guys move on, that's it. We never see him again. But Ty Dillinger says he's actually going to finish up his business with Eric Young. That's in a bigger match than we've seen from him before. This is a really big deal.
And I believe there's only been 2 cage matches in NXT prior, both of which featured Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
Only one of which has been in Full Sail, right?
Yes.
The other happened in Melbourne?
In Australia. I don't want to say Melbourne, because the Aussies get real picky if you say the wrong city.
Yeah, and we'll find out later how tricky it is to cross an Aussie. So any thoughts about Dillinger's move and further thoughts about this upcoming match against Eric Young?
I think it's got to be dovetailed because Ty Dillinger's already where he wants to be. He's on SmackDown. He's made his debut. He's signed on the dotted line. But at the same time, he's got business to really contend with Eric Young. And that match will be his official goodbye in a place that he's been for so very long and that he's helped to shape and form as an organization and a brand. I think NXT is Ty Dillinger and vice versa. Whether people realize it or not, that's very much the case. And I think this is going to be Ty Dillinger's sort of love letter to NXT. And it'll be a little bit bittersweet to see him move on and move up, but to know that we're not going to see him on this stage again where he toiled and worked so hard to grow himself as a brand. Yeah. And the tens rang out like no one ever thought they would.
It is worth noting that, just to put in perspective how long this guy's been around, he was part of the WWE ECW.
Yes, he was.
That's and not for very long, but he's been basically, since pretty much day one of FCW, he's been around, and now he's finally where he's deserved to be for a very long time. So,
agreed. Very
happy for that guy. Next up, we had hashtag do it two guys.
Yeah.
Versus Dylan Miley and Michael Blaze.
Yeah, Michael Blaze. I saw him over the weekend in Orlando. Kind of a quiet guy, kept to himself. And then we have Dylan Miley, who I don't know. I don't know how these two ended up being a tag team. If this was perhaps some sort of work of a coin toss or somebody with some sinister means in mind, knowing that Dylan Miley was a little bit of a hothead, because this did not work out for Michael Blaze.
Well, I mean, honestly, what's the explanation? Because isn't it just sort of... Isn't the explanation for what happens on television, wouldn't that just be, there's a tag team that we've signed that needs to be in action because they're trying to climb the ranks again, etc. And then you're trying to find an opponent for them. If you don't have an available tag team, don't you go with just the contracted employees that are available to you at the time?
Well, generally, yes, as in the case of Dylan Miley, but Michael Blaze is not contracted.
That's true, but he's in the building. He's booked.
Well, he was in the building. I don't know if perhaps he hit somebody in the parking lot and took their spot.
Well, given how this played out, I imagine Dylan Miley is a very confident individual. He knows himself and what he is capable of as a freakish individual.
Which is
frightening. So he probably just looked around the locker room and said, well, just give me that guy.
He just grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and said, I want to be in a tag team match.
Palmed his head like a basketball. And you saw in the match, so Dylan Miley, I mean, there's really no other word for it. He's a freak.
Yeah. You can see it in his physiology. The way his body is
unusual. Built. He has his selling point for over a year now, because he's been signed for a good long while. Everyone just keeps talking about his enormous hands. You've seen it on social media. Basically, everyone who's come through the Performance Center has tweeted out about how crazy big the guy's hands are.
And there was a moment where he was not going to give Tommaso Ciampa his hand back.
That's right.
Shook his hand and
engulfed
then
it.
Decided to give it back to him.
I actually had a moment like that. My first day in Orlando, the first thing that we did was we went to the WWE Community Caravan, where there were some superstars who were at the Inglewood Community Center or Neighborhood Center in Orlando, having a pizza party with some kids and playing dodgeball with them.
Cool.
And Titus O'Neil shook my hand.
Oh, God.
And he basically just grabbed my whole forearm. It was,
I'm shaking Titus's hand.
He's an enormous man. He's
the dimensions are like, oh, what are you doing here? God.
I think the only bigger guy that I've really spent some time talking to is probably Gronk. He's
really?
A huge dude.
Is
like
he?
Way bigger than
you can. I know how tall Mojo is,
right.
And Gronk is taller than that. So I know we're dealing with something that's like a show pony.
Yeah, he's quite a spectacle to behold.
Jeez.
Anyway, we're not talking about what happened on SmackDown. We're talking about what happened here with Dylan Miley. So Dylan Miley looks unusual. we've never really seen anyone like him.
Well, you said it first. He looks like the French Angel.
He
and
looks
then
like the French Angel.
goes Nigel McGuinness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you don't know who the French Angel is, go ahead and Google it.
Very important part of history.
Oh, yeah. He's 40s, 50s, 60s. Just one of the absolute biggest pro wrestling stars in the entire world.
One of the biggest
for decades.
Heads in human history. Was really Shrek, the cartoon, is based on French Angel.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, Google him. Give yourself a treat.
A treat. Have some nightmares on us.
Dylan Miley just looks like no one else we've ever seen in NXT, period.
It's weird. He's got a weird rib cage thing going on. And then muscle on top of muscle, kind of this... He looks like a hunchback.
He's basically like the Krang robot. As much as we made the joke about Apollo Crews.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and Gargano probably could just fit right in his tum-tum pretty nicely.
Yeah.
But Miley was just manhandling both Gargano and Ciampa, and going back to what we said earlier of just like, he'll do, I know what I'm capable of.
Right.
He very confidently tagged in his partner because he was so in control.
Yeah.
He said, oh, we've got this. You get a piece. You get a taste.
It's like the pilot of an aeroplane allowing the co-pilot to fly the plane. It's not crashing, so all you have to do is fly straight.
I'm going to get a coffee.
Right.
Just take over for a second.
Yeah, I'm going to go see one of the stewardesses about a horse, and then... Yeah.
But Michael Blaze, it turns out, did not have this.
No, clearly did not have this.
Because as much as Wade Miley was, or sorry, as much as Dylan Miley, you're getting him confused with the pitcher Wade Miley. As much as Dylan Miley was in control, that's how much Michael Blaze was not in control.
Right. No, it was the polar opposite. 100% and 0% control.
Blaze came in. Gargano was incapacitated. Blaze gave him an extremely hard Irish whip with authority into the opposite turnbuckle, and that's when Gargano did an up and over and did his
the spin
rollback
and
kick,
foot in the mouth. Yep. Good job.
And from there, it was pretty much academic that Michael Blaze was not going to get out of this one.
I guess Michael Blaze has not watched any tapes of Gargano from the last year, at least.
You could say that he went out in a himself of glory.
Yes, I've often given myself some glory. Often.
But that's not important right now.
It's not.
Later.
Yes.
Later it will be.
Yes, it will be.
So the Gargano and Ciampa came in, took Miley off the apron with a running knee, and then they met in the middle.
Eliminated the variable, and that was the end of it, really.
They met in the middle, and it was bad news for Blaze.
Well, and Ciampa was very careful not to engage Blaze as the pin was taking place. Miley, I apologize. Miley as the pin was taking place, but just to keep him outside enough for the match to be over. Because even Tommaso Ciampa knows how dangerous Dylan Miley is and does not want to engage him any more than is completely necessary to get the win.
That's right.
And post-match was sort of a horrible scene. We saw it coming. We could feel it. There's just something about the energy of Dylan Miley that makes you think, oh, he's not going to take this well. I'm sure he wanted to win today. As our, theory sort of plays out, he chose a guy so that he could basically just win a match.
Sure.
And that didn't work out so well. And now he's upset. And so he decides to destroy Michael Blaze.
And I don't think that we'll really be seeing Michael Blaze much again, but I have a very good hunch we will be seeing Dylan Miley again. Often.
Jesus. He reminds me of, who was the Frenchman who had the bald head who was doing the freak thing?
Oh, Marcus Louis.
Right, but if Marcus Louis really was a freak.
What if Marcus Louis were four Marcus Louis strapped together?
Right. And just as ugly as taping together four men to create some sort of horrible, hideous creature. Yeah.
Wonderful.
This is exactly what that was supposed to be.
I think we may have seen, in real time, Miley realizing he's not a tag team competitor.
Yeah, probably when he decided to break his partner's spine. I just don't like this thing. Crash.
It's not for me.
I'd rather do this on my own.
Do you think that this is, and I know that NXT isn't really a place for... It's a place for characters, but it's not a place for characters. It's a place for people. So, do you think that Dylan Miley will be named Dylan Miley forever? Because it seems like he should just have, like... He should be like the Crusher or...
Right. No, yeah. If anybody was going to have an old school wrestling name, it'd be this guy.
Yeah.
I think Dylan Miley, in my opinion,
Sure.
it doesn't mean jack. Dylan Miley's a throwaway name.
Yeah.
Like, who the hell is Dylan Miley? Dylan Miley's the big freak over there. Well, then call him the big freak. Jesus, look at that thing. Somebody call a dog catcher.
Yeah, even more so than Matha.
Yeah.
Because Matha at least looks like a dude.
Right.
Like, oh, that guy has a name.
Right,
But
yeah.
if Dylan Miley came around at any point between like 1950 and the year 2000,
Yeah.
he'd be somewhere in the South called like Crusher Barnes or
Yeah.
like King Kong, that guy.
The Bone Eater.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Do you are you aware that for a time Kane wrestled as Unabomb?
Yes. Yeah, no, I remember that. One of the many faces of the man called Kane,
That's right.
who is running to be your mayor.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
my mayor.
Well,
If you live in
If
Knox
you-
County, Tennessee, you're
absolutely.
mayor. Right.
And he loves that town. His logo is a fire emblem.
I know, it's great.
Come on! Are you kidding?
Yeah,
This is the greatest thing ever.
I really-
Tongue-in-cheek wrestling.
Really hope that he wins. I think he's going to have a better chance than Rhino did.
Rhino won, though.
No.
Didn't he?
No, he
I
didn't.
thought he did.
He won the runoff for his party.
Oh, I
He
see.
did- yeah,
I
he
see.
didn't win.
Well, that's okay.
Right. But, Kane's been an active part of that community for almost 2 decades, so I don't think that it's going to be...
Whenever I see him on a screen in a suit, still expect things to burst into flame. People, places, animals, I don't care. Things are going to catch on fire. It's the fire mayor. That's all I look at it as.
So expect big things from Dylan Miley, even if it's just Christmas Creature Jr. But we had a lot of packages throughout this episode of NXT because it's a new beginning. They don't know who's sticking around after WrestleMania, so they have to once again sort of reintroduce people or just clarify who people are. We saw a package later in the episode for Authors of Pain, but the most important and engaging package that we saw was Ember Moon revisiting the empty arena from TakeOver after her first loss
Yeah.
in NXT to Asuka. She thought that she had her number, but Asuka proved that she would do anything to keep her title, and she said that Asuka was her first loss, and she's determined that she's going to be Asuka's first.
But this is exactly what we needed. I don't think there's any question in my mind that Ember Moon is going to be the end of Asuka.
Sure.
It's just going to be a matter of time, and Asuka can handpick any number of opponents, but as long as Ember Moon is still Ember Moon, she's going to be chasing Asuka.
And she also has a little bit of leverage, a little bit of psychology over Asuka in that she can always... And it won't really... Asuka will say it won't matter to her, but Ember Moon can say, you had to resort to things that were less than on the level in order to put me away. And that's something that can definitely gnaw at Asuka.
I think it's currently
Noska.
Yes, Noska. I think it's currently gnawing at her. It just depends on her level of denial of the situation. She can say that never happened. The victory was always within my grasp, and that may or may not be true in her own mind, and I guess that's what really matters. How delusional is she? And how much she believes that she is the championship. It is that point where the champion has held a title for so long that they believe they've become the championship itself, and so the separation of the two is next to impossible. Asuka has held it for a year, and I think we've passed the point where she believes that she cannot live without this championship. And I sort of fear the world now that Asuka does not have said championship. Because with it, very passive, docile, will fight, but always to the end. I think if Asuka were to lose the championship, she'd lose any sense of right or wrong or dimensions. She might go after people and attack them in the parking lot, which has never been her MO, but if she loses the championship, that very well could be.
Absolutely. We also. So, do you think that this rematch is going to happen at Takeover Chicago, the next Takeover, or do you think it'll be stretched out longer? than that?
I want to say it'll be longer than that. I'd say we'll have a blip in Chicago, but Asuka's going to try her best to argue that there's no way she should fight Ember Moon. That Ember Moon is an afterthought. She was the first one to beat Ember Moon, and Ember Moon should move to the back of the line, at which point Asuka will hand-pick another opponent, which will be an easy victory for her, but something will happen. Ember Moon will get involved in that match, and then it'll be, oh, now we have to do this.
Yeah.
That's what I foresee.
Yeah, I mean, that could very well be the case, and it seems possible. It seems possible either way. Could definitely happen, because I could see them not wanting to stretch out Asuka's reign and the storyline that far to the second. Like, that would be SummerSlam's takeover then.
Right. Yeah. Which actually, that to me, that makes sense. Bigger stage.
Sure.
Bigger stage.
For sure. Then we had Ruby Riott. I believe this was her singles debut, right?
No,
she had another singles match.
She did before WrestleMania,
Okay.
which I talked to Mark about, and he corrected me when I said that the last time I saw her was her debut.
Got it.
Which is not the case.
So we had Ruby Riott versus Kimberly Frankel, who got her own entrance, got her own new theme music, got to do some posing, and she looked great. I mean, this was a short match. It ended up being pretty one-sided, but Kimberly got some time to show what she's capable of at the outset. She's hard-hitting.
She's got a very interesting background. I've been able to spend time with her, and she's got a great background of both wrestling and coming up in Philadelphia, tough town, but also having a dance background. So she's got great movement and speed and knows how to manipulate her body, as we saw in this match. At one point she hit a splitting jawbreaker. That just shows that she's got great control over her body, but at the same time, she knows how to hit real hard. The moment she had a chance, she popped Ruby right in the mouth. Just pop! Like, whoa! Oh, that changed things a little.
And Ruby was moving around great too, showed off some really cool offense, which we know that she's capable of. But then there was a distraction as Nikki Cross started banging the guardrail around, came out of the crowd, and unmasked herself so that Ruby really knew who she was.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could have guessed. The big Scots patch here.
Who has dimensions like this? Let me think. Is that one of the authors of Pain?
Yes.
So we had that, but the distraction didn't quite work out.
Well, no, that was early on in the match. Sure. The distraction was not the turning point. In fact, Nikki Cross allowed Ruby Riott to get a win in this match, and I mean allowed. She could have very easily hopped in and given her a disqualification.
She also could have hopped in and popped Kimberly in the mouth,
and thus giving her a disqualification loss. But she allowed this to happen, which there is something to be said about an opponent that you cannot predict at all. You can climb into a ring with somebody, but when you're not sure exactly who they are and what they're bringing to the table, you don't know what your offense and defense should be. You don't know exactly who you're wrestling on any given day, which is incredibly dangerous. Nikki Cross has the advantage in that because you don't know exactly who she is or what she's going to do. Today, she let this happen naturally. It reached its natural conclusion without her getting involved at all, which is sort of mind-boggling. It doesn't seem anything like her or her compatriots are capable of doing. But they always have larger ideas, and Nikki Cross has got something bigger in mind. What it is, none of us can say.
None of us.
Not
a single one of us. After this match, we had Billy and Peyton once again having some cell phone antics like we saw a couple weeks ago.
They really enjoy watching themselves.
And they also really enjoy just just getting in there and just needling Liv Morgan and Aaliyah. They just hate them so much. They're such mean girls.
They are.
And it didn't quite pan out perfectly because Billy ended up all wet.
Yeah, you gotta watch out when you're in the locker room. There's always something around that you can fall, trip on, and if you don't have your eyes open, you can end up in a cold tub. Completely full cold tub in all of your clothes. Good job. Good job.
Well, at least they weren't very far from the locker room.
That's true.
She probably has a change in there.
But she sounded and looked like a wet cat.
She did.
Just screeching and clawing and...
Perhaps a wet wombat.
Well, yeah, maybe wet dingo. Yeah.
After this, we had easily the match of the night, but just an amazing, amazing match. We had Oni Lorcan versus the re-debuting Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
And man alive, Drew McIntyre was always great, but he went to the he left WWE. He spent a few years traveling the world and wrestling everywhere he could, and I mean everywhere, and pretty much accomplishing anything that you can think of to accomplish, and just reached a completely different level.
I think he always had confidence in himself.
Sure.
But I don't think a lot of people had confidence in him. If you look at how he was really chosen for WWE, it was because, what's the story? Vince's secretary thought he was handsome. And that's not a good way to start a wrestling career. Now it's based on looks. It doesn't matter what you're capable or incapable of doing. So I think he had to go and prove that it doesn't matter if he's hand-picked or not, that he is hands down one of the greatest talents that wrestling has to offer.
Absolutely.
And I think he's done that.
Yeah.
He went out of his way to do that.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen any of his stuff that he did outside of WWE, do yourself a favor, just basically pick any Drew Galloway match you can find.
Yeah. I mean, he's got such a reputation for being this devastating opponent.
Yeah.
He just tries to break his opponents in that ring.
And as you saw in the match with Oni, dude's enormous. He's huge
yeah.
guy.
No, I saw him over WrestleMania weekend. It's always astonishing.
He hits
to see how
and he
freaking
hits
big
hard
he is.
and he moves incredibly well.
Very fast.
He's very fast, very agile. Just, I mean, he truly has it all. He truly has it all.
Lucky him.
I mean, this as much as, that knock on, like, picked because he's handsome, and that old knock of, like, what Vince likes, full head of hair, good face, nice body. He has all of that, and also he's one of the best wrestlers you'll ever see.
Right. Also skill.
Yeah.
Like, incredible skill.
He's basically like Scott Hall.
Yeah. Yeah,
But-
I'd say that's about true.
Yeah, but, reached the level... I mean, Scott Hall also was amazing at a very young age,
Yeah.
but now Drew Galloway or Drew McIntyre has the ability to be that star that Scott Hall was at the age that Scott Hall probably should have, like, started winning world championships and stuff.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's something to be said for experience and maturity.
Sure.
You need...
And he spent the last few years getting all of it.
Right. No, yeah, he's absolutely well-traveled, and I think he's got his head in the right place to be the contender that he should be.
But this match was amazing. Hard hitting.
Only
Both guys
Lorcan-
went completely all out.
Oni Lorcan has the reputation for being probably the hardest hitting guy in NXT against a guy who's coming in with the reputation of being one of the hardest hitting guys in the world. So I think Oni Lorcan's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, being undersized and underappreciated, and now he's set himself out to try and destroy Drew McIntyre.
And they both gave it everything they had. One of the best short matches that you'll ever see. It wasn't that short, but I mean,
I love old school wrestling that just it hits hard.
it's a sprint.
That's my match. I was wrestling in Arizona this weekend, and God love this green guy I was working with. He swung on me, man. I love it. I love getting hit hard. I can't help it. And I know Oni Lorcan loves it. So if he can dish it out and get it back, he's having a fun night.
No shortage of getting hit or hitting hard in this match.
No.
Oni got turned inside out with a big running boot, and that was all she wrote.
But the finish was spectacular. But there were so many more moments where Oni got to shine. Just the palm strikes to Drew's neck, as heavy as he possibly could. Just landing those strikes on Drew's jaw and neckline. I'll tell you, there's a lot of people who'd get knocked out by a blow like that. Even still, you take the heel of your hand right here and you run it up against somebody's jawline. That's as strong as a straight punch. Sure. That'd drop them.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen to me. That's for sure.
Well, you're doing a good job.
I'm on the right line of
You're
work.
avoiding it.
Yeah. So we had that match. Any further thoughts about that match?
Just the power, both the power and the speed of Drew Galloway, dangerous.
Yeah.
Oni was very quick in this match, but Galloway was only maybe a half step behind in half of it, catching Oni Lorcan at one point, Oni coming off the top, and then hitting him with a gut wrench on the apron. That's I don't see that very often because it takes an individual with special dimensions to hit that particular move. Sure. And Galloway was the man. And he was the man tonight with the win.
I couldn't be...
Keep calling him Galloway!
It's fine. It'll take some time. I couldn't be more excited that McIntyre's back. I think that he's probably... he's certainly primed to be the top babyface to carry NXT into the next era of NXT. He's definitely going to start to position himself as the biggest threat in every sense of the word to Bobby Roode's championship.
Yeah, but I still think the UK title needs to be watched very closely because it could be at any moment that Drew McIntyre decides that he wants to fight little Tyler Bate and take that title off his waist.
If anyone over 5'6" comes for that title, they better be careful.
Yeah.
We love you guys. We love Tyler and everybody else in the UK.
So talented.
Yeah, amazing.
But there's something to be said for a giant who believes himself to be the absolute ruler of a particular section of the world.
I would absolutely want to see Tyler Bate versus Drew McIntyre.
That'd be pretty boss. Pretty boss.
Then we had our main event segment of the evening, which was the farewell to NXT by Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke came out. Everyone sang his music, as they are wont to do. And he got on the microphone and he said that he was already a champion over a year ago when he decided to come to NXT, but he wanted to prove himself against the best of the world. He came to NXT and very quickly discovered that the NXT universe is crazy.
Yes.
And they made the chants, they made his theme song a legitimate thing, and he expressed his appreciation for them and said that he will always be NXT because we are NXT.
Yeah.
Then he said, yow, and everyone sang his theme song again. The entire roster came out onto the ramp and celebrated him. He went up to the ramp, he bowed to William Regal and Hideo Itami, and then his good buddy Finn Balor came out to give him a little hug, and that was all she wrote. We headed home.
Yeah, it was a touching moment. I think that Shinsuke understands that if it weren't for the NXT universe, he wouldn't be a thing. If they didn't receive him the way that they did, this year would have been a very different year. But right off the bat, they took him in and went, wow, this is something different and unique.
I kind of think that he would have always been sort of a sensation just because his charisma is so undeniable. Because he came up on SmackDown and not everyone, because it wasn't even the SmackDown after WrestleMania.
Yeah,
it was
right.
It was this last week. He came out. Not everyone there watches NXT, but everyone was going bonkers for him. And he didn't say or do anything when he debuted. He just came out and did his entrance. But like that entrance is undeniable. His charisma is undeniable, and he's just going to be. I mean, absolutely, his time in NXT has helped him in every possible sense of the word. But he's ready to set the world on fire, man.
Yeah, and I think he's set to take on a whole new slew of opponents, and a whole lot of people are gonna figure out how hard it is to catch Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah.
He is as intelligent as any competitor could possibly be, and that intelligence comes with the caveat of mind games. We've seen it firsthand, and a whole lot of other people are now going to witness that this is a genius who knows how to get under your skin.
For sure.
So
That's it for the episode. An amazing new era in NXT, and just after NXT went off the air, the WWE Twitter account posted an exclusive interview with the newest member of the NXT broadcast team, Christy St. Cloud, who looks very familiar.
Yeah, yeah, familiar.
But you know what? Doesn't look like Kathy, which is weird.
No, isn't that a nice change?
A
redhead.
non-Kathy.
Yes.
Any further thoughts about this episode? I could not be more excited and optimistic about this new era of NXT. Maybe that's foolish of me, but
No.
it feels new. It feels like the right direction.
I think when it comes to wrestling, there are a lot of people who don't know when to start. And that's one thing I see a lot of casual people, especially when the Undertaker retired, and people's Facebook feeds were flooded with appreciation for the Undertaker from people who didn't know that their friends and family were wrestling fans, and they went, I feel like I really missed out, and I want to get into wrestling, but when do I start? And if you want to get into NXT, I'd say the time is right now.
Absolutely.
This episode, it's brand new. It's got a shiny, fresh coat of paint. Everybody's got new belts. We're getting a whole slew of new talent. Now is the time to tune into NXT for the very first time and make this part of your regular viewing experience.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
I think that a good time for anyone to get into wrestling is always WrestleMania.
Yeah.
'Cause
Or
you
just after.
Just after is great, but starting with WrestleMania is really wonderful. Even though the length can be an issue for new people,
Ooh.
but you get all the amazing video packages. You get to see the ends of all the stories, and if the end of the story doesn't pull you in, man, nothing's gonna.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of wrestling stories or stories in wrestling that begin, and you have no idea how long a ride you're in for.
That's true.
But when you watch it end, it's almost always pretty special.
Yeah, as it was this past WrestleMania.
This WrestleMania was amazing.
Yeah. Was, like you said, length was an issue. I was blown.
And as we were talking about it, I feel like the Oni Lorcan Drew McIntyre match was sort of NXT's like amazing work rate equivalent of that Lesnar Goldberg match. It was like the best possible Lesnar Goldberg match they could have done.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah,
it
that
was
was
so good.
It was as good as it could have been.
Just hard hitting and fast, and 4 minutes or so, but didn't let up, and was as they packed as much emotion and drama and story into that 4 minutes as you can humanly pack into. It was really fun.
Well, I mean, you got to see it with the commentary in the background, didn't you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but we didn't have that, so
fair
it
enough.
was the drama. You could feel the tension, definitely the tension, and the crowd was feeling that tension as well. Half going for Lesnar, and then the other half going for Goldberg. Arguably half, maybe a little bit healthier for Lesnar, but you could feel the pull. And even if the crowd wasn't on board for Goldberg during the outset of the match, during the midway point, you could feel
sure.
he really started to take off, and the crowd swelled in his favor. He's never outside of the crowd's favor for very long because there's too much emotion tied to him.
It's just one of those things where when you see someone do really impressive stuff, you can't help but get behind them. And I've never seen a 50-year-old move that fast or hit that hard. So.
Yeah, no, he's kept himself in remarkable condition.
For sure.
Like it's almost scary. You can put him on Terminator level danger right there. He's kept himself so fit. What did he say? He's only within a very small pound range of him being at his peak. Like he's not lost his
exactly the
step.
same.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
to be honest, that's got to be a little daunting, even if you're Lesnar, who's got all of the ego in the world, and Paul Heyman. You've got to question yourself a little bit when you're looking down the barrel of a gun like that.
For sure. Anything else to add, either about NXT or about what's going on with your own self? Because we got some time.
I don't know. I'm just sort of caught up with the fact that Elias Sampson was on Raw. Boy, that's blew me away. I think that'd go under news and gossip any day of the week.
Well, we don't know whether he was there officially.
Did he just drift in?
Just drifted onto the stage.
I want to see the lady head of security come up, twist his arm into a knot, and throw him out again.
Another great WrestleMania moment.
God, she is boss.
Yeah,
all the time. They don't know who she is. She's serious. Like in person, you're like, she's seen things. Yeah. She's like the female version of Haku. But yeah.
We need a female version of Haku. We need a lady who's like renowned for like getting in bar fights and smashing people's eyeballs,
tearing a guy's jaw off with one hand.
Yeah.
God, I miss those days.
We showed you the picture of Ming and Glacier at the Wingstop. Right?
Yeah, just too much.
Yeah, I love that Glacier and Ming are still friends. That's just so delightful.
Like an unlikely couple, but hey, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not here to cast doubt on anybody's friendship.
You were part of the Friendship Express. You know a thing or two about friends.
Of course.
But where can people find you, sir?
Well, we're signing off, I guess.
Well, I mean, you can take this time to talk about all your bookings and what's going on in your life.
Let's see. Right about now, this weekend I'll be going to SoCal Pro's 10th anniversary.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's they've got quite a card. The
SoCal Crazy on there?
SoCal Crazy's on there. I think he's probably in the main event.
Probably. Lil Cholo?
Cholo, perhaps. I can't be 100%, but I believe
these days just regular Cholo.
Right? Yes. Well, I mean, he's not gotten any bigger. No. Let's be honest here. But Paul London's on that. Rey Mysterio, the friend of the show, Rocky Romero's on that. So I'll be heading down for that. And
really, Mysterio's there. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's San Diego, sure. So he's always
Booyaka,
there.
booyaka.
619. So I'll be going to that, and then past that, I'm not sure. I gotta check my calendar. I'm always checking the calendar, seeing what's going on. But I'm just looking forward to NXT coming back to the Southern California area, Riverside on 5/5, and then San Diego 5/6. Riverside on 5/5. Oh my God.
That's gonna be amazing.
Gonna be crazy. That place is just gonna be shaking to the very foundation.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It sold out last time. Now it's gonna be sold out with booze poured on top.
Sold out and drunk.
Oh yeah.
Well, what's the best way for people to keep in touch with your calendar and where they can find you?
Well, they can find me on Twitter at True Hobo, and Instagram at True Hobo, Facebook, Facebook.com/HoboTrain. I'm always posting stuff about where I'm going, where I've been, that sort of stuff. I'm the guy.
When's the next CWFH?
Should be Coastline Clash is coming up. I believe it's not this Sunday. I think it's next Sunday. I gotta double check. Check with me on the socials for that. I'll share it with you.
Hit them up on the online.
Yes, on the interwebs.
You can find me on Twitter at Sundown Motel, and you can find our wonderful shirts like this one at nxteam.spreadshirt.com. That's where you can also find many of Hobo's shirts.
Oh yeah, a lot of mine. Support a Hobo.
Yeah, support a Hobo. Love a hobo. Help him. Keep him in dead doves, everyone.
That's right.
But you can also check out my writing at uprocks.com, with spandex.com, uprocks.com/pro wrestling, uprocks.com/sports. I mean, they all go to the same place. It's fine. And check out what we're doing over there with Spandex. It's very fun. We have an amazing feature by Brandon Strada basically every day of the week. And, of course, all of the news that we want to bring to you that we feel is relevant to you, that you need to know about. And that's our promise to you.
That's our promise.
That'll pretty much do it for us and for Mark B. Donica, who you can find on Twitter at Mark B. Donica.
That sounds right.
Yep, he is our he's
the B is for Brady.
We'll mourn him.
Brady. He's not here, so he's not gonna get mad at me.
We'll mourn him until we join him, which is hopefully in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So thanks for joining us, everybody, for this new era of NXT, and we will catch you next week.
Bye bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.